Nami Sada Shivalingam. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Shankar Mahadeva. Dear friends, we must confess and admit and recognize and identify some of the shortcomings. You know, in the school of management or in any good run business, you often hear the leaders of those companies saying that you cannot manage what you don't measure. And in order for you to measure it, you must pay attention to it. And if you are going to make a difference, to deal with some of the shortcomings in your companies or in your businesses, you must first admit there's a problem. Identify it before you can fix it. And therefore, the same thing applies with our life. Unless we admit it, we can't, and we would not be in a position to really and truly deal with those issues. You see, we must be honest enough with our own self to admit our own faults. You see, you have to be mature enough and say that I need help. And if you have a good friend, someone who you trust, if you have someone that you can go to, Panditji, Imam, the pastor, you have an elderly in your family, dear friends, go to that person and say, I am struggling, I need help in this area. Please help me. Give me some guidance so that I can make these changes. Don't hold on to some of these negative things of the past and try to deal with them on your own. Dear friends, some people think that I am not going to tell anybody about this problem. What would they think about me? I'd be too embarrassed. Dear friends, we must instead swallow our pride and confess our weaknesses and get help if we need to be free of some of these negative things of the past. You see, it is not easy to admit that we need help, but it is necessary. I often say that it takes a strong person to recognize and admit his or her faults. You see, unless you recognize it, it takes a stronger person to say that I'm sorry. It is one thing to recognize that I have a fault or I have a shortcoming, but it takes a stronger person to say I'm sorry. Saying that I'm sorry and making amends for the wrongs of the past does not make you a weak person. Recognizing those shortcomings. We are all susceptible to making mistakes, friends, and therefore, when those events of the past continue to plague our lives in the present, don't ever be too ashamed to say that I am sorry or that I need help. First, admit it, dear friends. You see, if you have an anger problem or a problem with alcohol or some other form of addiction, don't try to beat the problem on your own. Don't hide it because you're too embarrassed. Find someone who would stand up in faith with you, because that person believes in a higher power also. And I'm not saying that you have to announce it to the world and tell the world your problems, but you need to find someone that you can really trust and do your part. Dear friends, God, Bhagavan, will help you. Bhagavan will hold your hand through that person and help you deal with some of the negative patterns of your past. You see, in the same way, you can beat anything that may be against you. There's no addiction in this world that is too difficult for our Bhagavan. But Bhagavan cannot operate in isolation. Bhagavan operates through you, my friends. Some people say, Bhagavan, Lord, look at so many problems in this world. What are you doing about it? And if you listen quietly in your meditation, you would hear the voice of Bhagavan saying to you, what am I doing about it? I sent you into the world for me to work through you to deal with some of the challenges in your environment. We must not see the negatives and turn a blind eye. I believe it was a few weeks ago I said on Shanti Vandana that evil will prevail when good men sit idly by and do nothing. In this world, there are more good people than there are bad people. There is more goodness overall than there are negative traits and behaviors. But unfortunately, it is the negative things that make the news. It is the negative thing that would get some prominence in our attention. But we must realize that there is more good in this world. There is so much more good in this world. And therefore, if the good stands up, if the good addresses the negative, the few that exists, can you imagine what and how much more beautiful this world, your family, your life will be? Today on Shanti Vandana, we're discussing how do we break free of some of the negative, the shortcomings of our past. Please join with us again this morning as we're reminded that on Thursday coming, the 27th of February, the world over, at least the Western world, will be celebrating Mahashivratri. So I'm sure you're fasting already. You're making physical preparations for Mahashivratri. But today on Shanti Vandana, today we're asking you to make mental preparations for Mahashivratri. You know how you do that? It is by hearing the Damaru. Dam, 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 Damaru Baje. Can you feel it? The Damaru of Bhagavan Shiva is already, that pattern is already in the environment. Close your eyes and feel the vibration, feel the power of Bhagavan Shiva permeating within every cell of your body. And you would see that come Mahashivratri night. And I would like to extend that invitation to you to join with us at the Railway Road Dharam Sabha, where we will be having service for the entire night. The vibration of Shiva is so powerful as we chant the 108 names of Bhagavan Shiva, the Bilva Ashtakam, Eka Bilvam Shiva Arpanam. We also chant the Linga Ashtakam, Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam. We read from the pages of the Shiv Mahapuran, the Ramcharitramanas, singing the praises of Bhagavan Shiva. We perform the chanting of Chautal, so many very beautiful chanting of bhajans and kirtan, dances that keep the night going, where morning would come in the Ratri Jagaran, and you would not even feel an ounce of sleep. So today, my friends, as we chant on Shanti Vandana, the praises of Bhagavan Shiva, today and tomorrow, I'm asking you to continue making that preparations. Keep that internal dialogue going within your life as you make preparations for that Jagaran of all Jagarans, Maha Shiv Ratri. This is Pandit Krishen Ramdeen saying thank you so much for joining with me this morning as we conclude this edition of Shanti Vandana. Tomorrow again, I look forward to your company as we continue from 5 a.m. With continued discussions on allowing Bhagavan Shiva to make our lives better. This coming Tuesday, I would also like to extend an invitation to you. There's a 3-night Shiv Mahapuran Yagna at the Shiva Krishna Mandir on Endeavour Road in Shigwanas. And they're having a very beautiful 3 nights this coming Tuesday. I will be reading at that Mandir pages from the Shiv Mahapuran. This is Pandit Krishen Ramdeen again saying thank you very much for joining with me as I look forward to sharing your company tomorrow morning on the first, the finest, 103 FM. Stay tuned. Shivani ji is up next.